In 1947, a decision was made inside a British office, a decision that millions of people in India didn't know about, didn't vote for, and didn't even hear until it was too late. It was a decision taken by a fading empire in its final days, an empire ready to walk away from the world's largest colony, but unwilling to invest the time required to live responsibly. With minimal consultation and almost no preparation, Britain approved a plan that would split the Indian subcontinent into two new nations. The borders were drawn behind closed doors, released after independence, and enforced on a population that had no say in their creation. That single moment triggered one of the largest human tragedies of the 20th century, set off multiple wars, and created a geopolitical tension that still shapes South Asia and the world. This is the real story of why Britain divided India, how the decision was rushed, and why its consequences have lasted for generations. Before 1947, India existed as a vast, interconnected region under British colonial rule. Hundreds of ethnic groups, multiple religions, and dozens of languages existed within one political structure. Daily life was influenced by identity, but defined by coexistence. Communities maintained their own traditions, yet shared trade, governance, and social networks. The British Raj governed this large population through centralized authority, supported by local rulers, and an administrative system built over nearly 2 centuries. But beneath the surface, colonial policies were reshaping how communities saw one another. A political landscape based on religious identity was slowly emerging, one that would become decisive in 1947. The British Empire understood a basic principle of colonial control. A united India would be impossible to govern. To prevent that unity, British officials strengthened religious and communal divisions. They introduced separate electorates based on religion. They emphasized religious identity in political representations. They supported different groups at different times, creating competition where cooperation once existed. By the early 20th century, political debates increasingly centered on religious interests. Organizations like the Indian National Congress and the All India Muslim League grew in influence, but disagreements about political power deepened. Britain's strategy had worked. A divided political environment made British authority easier to maintain. But as independence movements grew stronger, Britain realized it could no longer hold on. After World War II, Britain was exhausted, financially strained, and politically unstable. Maintaining the empire was no longer feasible. India, with its massive population and growing nationalist movements, became too difficult for Britain to control. In early 1947, Britain announced it would withdraw within a year. A process that should have taken several years was suddenly compressed into a few months. The key question remained unresolved. Should India remain one nation or be divided into two? Political negotiations broke down. Mistrust grew. Violence began to spread in some provinces. Instead of slowing down, Britain accelerated its exit. Speed became more important than stability. This decision set the stage for one of the most rushed geopolitical reorganizations in modern history. To finalize the division, Britain appointed Sir Cyril Radcliffe, a London lawyer with no background in India, no knowledge of its geography, and no experience in its culture. His task? Draw the borders of India and Pakistan. His deadline? 5 weeks. Radcliffe had to divide provinces, districts, and villages based on outdated maps, incomplete data, and intense political pressure. He later admitted he was aware that his decision would bring suffering, but he had no time and no ability to prevent it. The borders he drew would be irreversible. When he finished, Radcliffe left India immediately and refused to return for the rest of his life. On August 14 and 15, 1947, Pakistan and India became independent nations, but there was a critical problem. The new borders were not announced until after independence. Millions of people woke up unsure of which country they now belonged to. Communities found themselves on the wrong side of the border. Administrators had no instructions, local police forces was unprepared. Fear escalated rapidly. The announcement of Radcliffe Line triggered massive population movements. Muslims traveled toward Pakistan, Hindus and Sikhs traveled towards India. This became the largest migration in human history. Transportation system collapsed, security broke down, and local conflicts intensified into widespread violence. More than 1 million people died in the aftermath of the Rush division. Partitions created a humanitarian crisis unlike anything previously seen in the region. Families were separated, homes were abandoned, entire communities disappeared overnight. Millions crossed borders on foot. Refugee camps expanded beyond capacity. Governments struggled to provide food, water, and medical support. The trauma of 1947 became a permanent part of South Asian history. Its emotional, cultural, and psychological impact continues to influence families today, even among generations born long after independence. The effects of partition did not end in 1947. They shaped global politics for decades. The Kashmir conflict. The rushed border leaves Kashmir's status unresolved. Both India and Pakistan claimed it. This led to a war in 1947, a war in 1965, and another one in 1999. Continuous military tension. Kashmir remains one of the world's most dangerous flashpoints. Second, nuclear rivalry. By the 1990s, both nations acquired nuclear weapons. This transformed the regional conflict into a global risk. Third, political tensions across South Asia. Partition influenced elections, alliances, and national identities. It shaped how people in both countries view history, security, and sovereignty. Fourth, millions living with displacement. The refugee crisis reshaped cities, economies, and social structure in both nations. Partition was not a temporary event, it was a permanent division with long-term consequences for global security. Who is responsible? Historical responsibility is complex, but several facts are clear. British divide and rule policies intensified communal divisions. Britain rushed independence without a transition plan. The border was drawn with incomplete information and extreme haste. Local leaders negotiated under pressure without enough time to prepare their populations. Partition was not inevitable. It was the result of political failures, colonial strategies, and rushed decisions. The human cost was enormous and preventable. The division of India is a reminder that political borders are not just lines on a map. They shape lives, define identities, and determine the fate of nations. Partition shows how quickly instability can emerge when decisions are made without planning, without communication, and without respect for the people affected. Understanding 1947 is essential not only to understand India and Pakistan, but to understand how rushed decisions by powerful states can echo across decades and around the world. Partition is not just a chapter of South Asian history, it is a global warning.